in my mind, if you're working consistently to a goal, that is better than not working at all. If you spend too much time in the planning phase, and you're just planning, sometimes it's just better just to start moving. When I set a goal, I try to think about what kind of person do I want to look back upon when I'm on my deathbed and reflecting back on life, seeing, okay, did I become the person that I wanted to be? Did I serve humanity enough? Did I look after the ones that I love and care about enough? Did I reach my potential? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Northern Strength Fitness Podcast Show. As always, my name is Brandon. I am your host, and if you're on the video podcast today, you may notice a slight adjustment here. I have upgraded to try out some headphones while I record. It gives me a chance to hear my voice. Now, I actually could have done this earlier, but I decided not to. But I recently had my dog. She may have got a hold of my old earbuds. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why not try out? I'll order up some nice headphones for when I get a guest on. We can have a discussion of whether or not they want to use it. But it also gives me some feedback on how I sound. And then I can start playing around with some of these other things on here just to give you guys an example about what this little fancy board can do. Let's get into it.
Oh yeah, Northern Strength Fitness Podcast coming at ya. Oh yeah, be ready to blow your mind. Anyway, that's what I could do. I could
change my voice just like that, have a little playback. We can throw in sound effects and things like that, which I haven't really been playing on with, but yeah, it should be kind of cool. Hope you guys are excited with me. Yeah, sweet. All right, anyway, enough with that for today. Maybe I'll throw in a couple buttons here and there. Today's episode is gonna be focused on more about our goals and setting them, how I view them, how I've used them in the past, how I hope to use them in the future, how your life can be one big giant goal, in my opinion, but we can break those down into lots of little goals. I had a great question at the end of the last podcast. So if you guys didn't check it out, it was on 6 tips for success in reaching your goals. So today we're going to be diving in more about goal setting. One of the questions was basically, have you heard of other types of ways to set goals other than SMART goals? So we'll dive into that a little bit today, use some examples that you can apply to your fitness and health journey. But as always on the show, we're going to look at outside of that realm into your own personal lives, into your family, into your friend circles, business, work, communities, extend that stuff that you can learn through fitness and health, and then bring it to help you guys out in your life. So that's today's episode, and let's get into a goal that I am very proud about that I've accomplished. For example, in the past was a handstand walk. Okay, I don't know if I've talked about this on a podcast, but if you know me for the last few years, I had set myself some goals. We have a little goal board on our gym, and I wanted to achieve a certain distance of a handstand walk. I believe it was 12 feet. So I had to do this. I didn't have to, I just chose to do this goal. And I worked towards the goal. And after, I think it was about 3 to 4 months-ish, I finally hit the goal. I was super proud of myself. I had the little video for myself to do it. And it was a great experience for me to kind of showcase to the gym that it is possible to set some goals even outside of your not necessarily huge strength areas, but you can still work towards those goals if you have the right mindset. Now, speaking of that goal and the 12 feet, why did I do that? Why did I pick that goal? Oh, and if you guys can see the camera, Bella's down here. I have a dog named Bella. She may or may not come on the show every now and then if you're on the video one. But why did I pick 12 feet? Did I set a time frame, stuff like that? So backing it up to SMART goals. So SMART goals, depending on what you guys have learned about them, they're used a lot of places. I was a school teacher, so we use them lots in our health classes. But lots of businesses and workplaces will use them as well. So the SMART goal stands for something that's specific, something that you could measure, something that's attainable, something that's going to be relevant to you, and something that's usually time-based. Okay, so let's kind of go through each of those very quickly here. I don't want to bore you guys with SMART goals, but specific means that if your goal is too broad, it might be hard for you to hit it. So if I said improve handstands walking, well, where does the measuring tools go? So instead of just saying improve my handstand walking, well, if I inch one extra step, did I reach my goal? Did I not? So I made it very specific in the 12-foot handstand distance, okay? Measurable. Is it measurable? Well, because I have that distance in there, it was an easy way to measure progress towards it, right? So I can say, hey, today I can make it I could barely get in a handstand. And then eventually I was able to do 4 feet, 6 feet, kind of had markers that I would aim for. So yeah, it was measurable. Was it attainable? Yeah, I think a lot of goals are attainable, depending on the type of goal that you have and the type of person you are. That's where your attainability, what's going to keep you, I guess, motivated in it and disciplined will definitely depend on you and how you set those goals. But for me, I wanted to showcase that this could be done, so I made it attainable, especially within if we go to the T, time-based. I try to make it something that I could do within like 3 to 4 months. So kind of skipped ahead there, but I believe it was attainable, something within my realm. And I think lots of these goals in your life can be attainable. It just might not be something that can be done overnight. Was it relevant or even realistic in the sense, some people say realistic, relevant. Relevant might mean, is it relevant to who you are, who you want to be? And I wanted to showcase this to my gym, to my community, to myself. So I think you stay more motivated when it's relevant to who you want to be and your bigger goals in life, which is kind of get to my next setting goals tip. So is it relevant to those big goals? And then lastly, that time-based one. So I didn't set an actual specific date out loud in this goal. Like I want to be able to do a 12-foot handstand by, let's say, December 31st, right? I didn't put an actual time date on that, but I did it on purpose. I didn't want to limit myself and give up on that goal. But sometimes people say, well, that's a good place for you to reflect if you didn't hit the thing. So I get that part. But for me, I figured I could work on it. And I thought if I can get this within the first few months, that would be awesome. It would keep me motivated, showcase the progress. So didn't necessarily have a timestamp on there, but if you are going to put a timestamp on there, just know that if you don't hit that timestamp, it's a reflection period onto you and also onto your plan and everything that you put into that. Again, if you go back and watch that last video, there's all those tips I made for going through goals that would kind of go more into depth about all the stuff that you can do to hit those goals. This was more about setting it. So that 12-foot distance, it was super fun to get hit, not actually to get hit, to actually do it. I was pretty pumped about it. So that was a goal that I was proud about. Now, let's get into kind of how I view goals on a bigger spectrum of life and how maybe you guys can use this and apply it to your own selves in whatever kind of state you guys are in. But again, using fitness and lifestyle as the main one. So if you're going to set a goal and you don't necessarily want to think about just SMART goals, okay? You don't want to just pick a specific measurable, attainable, realistic, time-based goal, but you just want to set a goal. Here's kind of the way that I do it and the way that maybe you guys can do it. I try to think huge picture, kind of like giant, big ideas, and then I try to think of chunks of that. A few different ways to break this up would be, I try to think of it like who at the end goal of my existence, of my life, and even what happens after I am off this planet, passed away, whatever you want to call it, that what kind of stuff do I want to see or hope is achieved? So when I set a goal, I try to think about what kind of person do I want to look back upon when I'm on my deathbed and reflecting back on life, seeing, okay, did I become the person that I wanted to be? Did I serve humanity enough? Did I look after the ones that I love and care about enough? Did I reach my potential? Did I do all those things? That's where I kind of go with that big goal, right? So I have a vision in my head that I develop over time to who I want to be at the end of life. Then I constantly set smaller kind of goals along that path for myself to be like, okay, well, if I want to impact millions of people to help them with their fitness and lifestyle and develop into strong communities, then here are some things that I need to do. If I want to have a family and I want to have kids, and I want to be able to look after them, care for them, provide them, and give them amazing opportunities so that they can live a healthy, happy life. Here are the things that I want to do, right? If I want to have strong relationships with my family and my friends, here are the things that I want to do. So at the end of life, if I can look back at those key points, what kind of steps are I going to need, or am I going to need to take to hit those missions, I guess, in life? So as far as like the big goal, that's kind of always the one that I'm striving for. And then I set little goals in my head to help me do that. If you're a visual person, think of it like a road map. So you got this giant road map, or even like a treasure map, right? You got this huge map, and at the end is your end of your life. Along there, you want to have lots of these little pit stops of life that are going to build or get you to where you want to go. Now, as far as like a time frame goes, well, that's your life. You don't know exactly when it's going to be. As far as like specifics, that map, you might encounter or find new paths along the way. You might get tempted along the way, and you might veer off to different goals, but it doesn't mean that you still can't find your way back to that end goal. The thing with life and setting those goals is that it is an adventure, right? And if you look at life and you're thinking that it shouldn't be fun and shouldn't be an adventure, then I challenge you to look at it being an opportunity to be something fun that you can enjoy, challenge yourself. I've spoken a lot about finding challenge in life and looking for challenges, and then not just to go through life, but to grow through life. And sometimes adventuring around that map and trying different goals out, whether you're going to be successful or not, or failing at them, is going to be part of that adventure to get you to who you want to be at the end of that map, right? And then in the sense of using that same metaphor, just think about all the impact you can have along that map, along the journey, through the goals that you set, right? And even through the ones that you don't happen to set that just pop up, and maybe even the ones that you just stumble upon, right? What kind of impact do you want to be? And if you reflect on what is the end goal, who do I want to be, and you go into that, I think that's where you're going to find the most fulfilling goal setting, but also the ones that are going to get you to where you want to be. So that's the big goal with the small goals, okay? So again, challenging yourself to visualize who you want to be at the end, and then setting those kind of checkpoints, those goals along the roadmap along the way, okay? So let's kind of like dial back. So that's the big picture. Let's go back down to like some smaller goals, okay? So how do you set like those small mini checkpoints, Brandon? Like, what would be some ways to make sure that I am successful or they are good, okay? So again, visualize yourself there. I'll use myself for an example. So let's say that I want to be a really helpful person around the gym for people who want to train and do things. So a goal for myself is to learn a variety of different training methods, so that way I can help and reach a lot of different people. Okay, so my mission, one of the goals that I have in my mind, is to experience and go through different types of fitness challenges, different types of fitness phases throughout my life, so that way I can at least have the experience, have the knowledge to then help those people, or even to help my trainers as they may come across some boundaries or some unknown areas that I can at least have a conversation with, right? You think of someone like an Elon Musk, for instance. He can have most likely a very intelligent conversation with a lot of his workers, because he is a very intelligent person and knows quite a bit with his background knowledge. So I want to kind of have that, for instance, a goal for me to be a fitness, I guess, not necessarily a guru, but sure, why not? Why not call a fitness guru for the sake of this, right? I want to be very knowledgeable in that. So to set myself some goals for that, I'll use a few examples. I could say, hey, you know what? My goal is to listen to some fitness health podcasts. Let's use that SMART goal now, so we could dial back those SMART goals, and I could set myself a little road checkpoint. So I want to listen to fitness and health podcasts once every few days, and I'm going to spend 30 minutes listening to something of someone with some kind of knowledge or experience or even passion in fitness and health. And maybe that's one goal of mine, is to do that for the next year. So I might say, hey, I'm going to do this once whatever time frame is going to be for the whole year, and that's going to be my target. Okay, now if I don't hit that target, then I just again reflect how can I have done that? Maybe I set too many maybe too many podcasts. Maybe I didn't have support for someone checking in on me how the podcast research was going. All those kind of things could happen within that goal. So that could be one way. Another thing could be like getting myself into different types of seminars. So for instance, I booked myself into a weekend seminar on how to do Olympic weightlifting last summer, almost about a year ago. So going through those experiences. So my goal might be, hey, to find and research different opportunities for me to go take place in these types of events. Again, adding more of these checkpoints along the person who I want to be, which is a person to help a lot of people and grow my influence and my reach. So those are how I look at those SMART goals. One might be, for instance, powerlifting, right? So I might want to dabble into going through different powerlifting or take a powerlifting seminar. I might want to host powerlifting meets. I might want to train more into strength, right? Maybe I want to get into body. So all those checkpoints, I can set the goals for that and then try to do it to reach that bigger ultimate goal, okay? So that's going to go into one of my other things for these goals is if you aren't necessarily finding success on your own and you're having some trouble even setting appropriate goals or not even sure what to set, that's where having a mentor or a coach comes in handy. So if you're not really sure what to do or you know that you have limited time and resources, sometimes using that little cheat code of a coach or a mentor to get you on that path or to help clear that way makes it definitely a lot more, maybe not definitely, but it might add you some higher chance of success in finding and searching that map. Again, using the map as a metaphor, if I'm going to go to a Rocky Mountain area and try to learn how to do rock climbing, I'm probably not going to be able to do that very easy. I could spend hours and hours and hours researching it online and YouTube, or I can just book myself into a rock climbing course and have someone actually walk through it with me, right? I could go and hire somebody to actually take me to an appropriate challenge rock climbing thing for me, right? So there's different stages or different coaches that you can have throughout that thing that'll help you get to those goals. They've probably already done those types of experiences, and then they can relate that knowledge and that experience onto you to reach those goals, and even to help you find an appropriate goal with an appropriate time. So if you're one of those people that like to have those time sets, those hey, I want to do this by February, or maybe by February's are over. Let's just use a summer example. Let's say you got some weddings this summer you want to go to, and you have to cut some weight, and you want to be able to do that in a certain amount of time frame, but you don't have the time to research, you don't have the time to figure out all this stuff, you don't really have the knowledge base on it. Well, maybe then it's like, hey, Brandon, I am wanting to do this by this day. I've seen you have a lot of success with weight loss in your gym and transformations. I've talked to some people. Can you please help me get to this goal? I'm not really sure where to start. I kind of tried some things that didn't work out. I'd be like, yeah, that's my jam. I know how to do that stuff. I took some training and all that kind of stuff. I have a background knowledge in my university classes, my continued research into this, my continued advancement. Even people that I'm training right now, I get constant feedback from them. So I'd be like, yeah, I have that experience. I have that knowledge. I've gone through it myself multiple times. So I would be a much better choice in the sense of someone who's going in there blind without any prior knowledge versus someone who was to, let's say, hire me as a nutrition or training coach. And that goes along with lots of those coaches out there. It could be, that's why we go to school in general, right? That's why you might go and take a chef school cooking thing, right? You might take a nutrition training course. You might take whatever kind of course it might be. That's what you're paying for, those guides, those people that have gone through those goals and success. And hopefully, cross your fingers, they know how to teach that stuff, because that's another skill. Just because you've gone through those goals doesn't mean you know how to teach those things and to explain it, where I kind of have a little bit of an edge on that, being a teacher for about a dozen years. So I find that the stuff that I can usually portray to people is easily broken down and kind of adaptable for others. So that would be that next step would be looking to hire some stuff. But if you really, I kind of wanted to sort of, I'm not going to ramble on a huge amount about these goals. It was more about you guys goal setting and seeing out what you guys can do. But if you wanted to like look at goals another way, it could be kind of like a science experiment. So for those that have a science background, I actually was a chemistry minor in university for a bit. But then I realized I could be a business minor. So I was like, ooh, this looks more up my jam. But I really enjoyed chemistry thanks to my teacher back in high school. Got me super interested into it. But I still am interested in science, and I understand the cool parts of science and how it unlocks things. But I kind of getting off on a ramble here. Science has kind of like that scientific process. So you have that same kind of process within a goal. So you have your hypothesis, right? Like, what do you think? What do you want to find out? What are your questions that you're seeking? And that could be that goal, right? So what is that? Then you're going to develop your plan and how you're going to test that hypothesis. The same things with the goal, right? So you're going to create that plan for the goal. Then you're going to implement that plan, right? And then through the implementation, you're going to find out what happens. You're going to come to the conclusion of your hypothesis. And then whether the result was good or bad, in science, you take that knowledge and then you reapply it, right? And then you go through that same cycle again, okay? So setting goals could be very much like an experiment for you throughout life, right? The better goals that you pick throughout life, the more likelihood you are to get to that person who you want to be. However, those experiments aren't always guaranteed to be a win, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't not learn from those experiences, those experiments. Some of the biggest, best lessons are probably ones that you don't win at, that you do fail at sometimes, right? So those experiences, those failures and successes are just little tests along the way. And those tests build up over time, which then hopefully lead you to those goals. And that's another thing. Like, in my mind, if you're working consistently to a goal, that is better than not working at all. If you spend too much time in the planning phase and you're just planning, sometimes it's just better just to start moving than to just sit there and wish for your goal. So if you're not willing to start moving towards your goal because you're too nervous, you're too anxious, my words of advice to you are just to start moving, okay? Even if you have no specific goal, right? Standing still and complacent isn't necessarily even going to help you do anything, right? At least you could take a step forward, right? If you're one of those people that aren't really sure what you want to do with life, you don't even know what kind of goals, those big pictures, those little pictures, my advice to you is just take that step forward, okay? Start moving in a direction that it's at least going to unlock that map a little bit for you, right? If you're a video game person like me, sometimes you have that fog of war, it's called, where you can't see the map. How do you find that map for those that used to play a lot of those games? You start clicking and exploring the map, right? And as you explore the map, you come across different things. Sometimes you explore a little bit beyond where you're supposed to be. You learn a lesson in that, okay? It's the same thing in life. If you're going to sit there complacent, you're not going to go out and experience what's there. So if you're having trouble setting some goals, it's better just to start moving with that. The more cautionary you are, obviously the slower you're probably going to want to move. Some people might move too quickly, but that's where that whole development learning process comes into. I don't know if that kind of wraps up sort of my view on goal setting and how you guys can hopefully use those SMART goals. I like to use them for like small goals, but as far as like that big goal setting, I think about my life, who I want to be, try to plan those actions along the way. The scary part is, I don't know, the world's changing so fast. This is just a random tangent. I've been talking to people at the gym about this lately, or some of my friends and family know about how much I've been talking about this, but there's these artificial intelligence that are blowing up all over the place. You can start to give them a goal to hit, and now they're like open sourced on the internet, and all of a sudden they can go and start doing that same process I just explained to you and start to basically achieve their goals. And then once they achieve that goal, they can now start to learn and say, hey, okay, what should be my next logical goal? So these AI things that are out there, if you haven't looked into AI, it's getting crazy out there, but My hope is that you guys can stay ahead of that revolution that may or may not happen. My opinion is that it's going to change a lot of stuff that we do. But start working towards knowledge, start working towards envisioning yourself, because if you don't do that, you're going to fall behind. And maybe that's fine with you. I don't want you guys to fall behind. I want you guys to grow through life, not just go through life. So being aware of your situations, being aware of who you are, the people around you, are only going to help you get to that end journey. And when you do look back at it all, when you're sitting there reflecting, did I do all that stuff? I hope that you guys could have some comfortability in saying yes. And hopefully, if you guys are enjoying this podcast and you guys are liking the content, you guys can show this to other people. I really do want to try to help a lot of people. And this is one of those goals of mine, is to grow this show, to grow my influence through a digital means. So if you guys do happen to share this, or if you are watching on YouTube or something, leave some comments, leave a thumbs up. Comment what you guys would like to hear. Maybe comment a goal that you guys are proud about that you've reached. A comment about a goal that you failed. I know I haven't talked about a goal that I failed. One was I set a rowing goal. I remember I set a rowing goal to, I think I talked about the other, and it was to get to a certain time, and I never did get that rowing goal. I still haven't got there yet. I've had lots of different goals that I haven't hit yet, right? And that doesn't mean that I'm failing at life. It just means that that's part of that learning process. So anyway, thanks again, guys, for watching this, and we'll talk to you guys soon, and I'll hopefully get you guys with some more of these cool little sound effects here. But let's end it off with a little bit of music, and then we'll wrap it up with
this lovely voice. Yeah. All right. Catch you guys later. Bye.